What the fuck was that, Tony?
It's
home run.
We're starting.
Yeah, that was a great way to start the Toronto on Tilt, I guess, Blue Jays podcast. We'll name this later. We'll figure out a name for it. I'm Steve Artabello. This is Anthony Harris and Theo Giordano. If you check us out for the football podcast, you will already know these things. But for anyone checking this out for the first time, you can find our website, torontoontilt.com. You can find us on YouTube, where the video for this will be posted, at Toronto on Tilt. You can find us on Twitter at Toronto on Tilt. You can find us on every streaming platform out there, Toronto on Tilt. That's Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Breaker, Bleaker, Anchor, all of the things. We are available, and this is going to be a little bit different. We know the football podcast is mostly like mostly it is. It's our gambling. It's us being degenerates and
in-depth content.
Very deep and winners.
And Theo, why don't you tell the people what this is going to be more of?
This one's going to be a little different. This isn't going to be gambling based. The Blue Jays, I think, are what ties all of us together. We are probably our biggest sport is baseball, and the biggest team we support is the Blue Jays. So we kind of wanted to do a more fan perspective / a little more in depth. We know like there's other outlets for that kind of thing where you get like the Sportsnet types, you get the people who are completely over the top fan reactions. We want to kind of bring a little bit of a mix. Maybe once a week during the season on Sundays, we recap the week. And then during the off season, when big stuff happens, right now nothing's happened for the Jays, but we kind of wanted to give maybe a preview and outlook of what we're looking at this off season and give our thoughts on that, because I haven't seen too much as far as there's a lot of things going on right now, a lot of interest, but no real concrete stuff for the Jays.
It's kind of the story of free agency overall.
Pretty much.
Small things have happened.
And this offseason for the Jays, I think I said this earlier, it's going to be our biggest offseason ever as a franchise. I don't think I've said that before. I've never been this confident. I'm believing more in the brass, believing more in the front office as far as their willingness to actually go all in for this team. I think with the way the pandemic has affected most teams, the Jays are going to be able to benefit mostly because the ownership group isn't just baseball based. It has so many other assets, and the Jays should fucking rake it and bring it wherever they want this offseason.
Not to mention, Rogers is doing well from everyone being at home, upgrading internet packages, using they own Crave, right? Rogers own Crave. Anyway, they own
Crave.
You know what I mean? Like, they are clearly doing well off the pandemic, and then having more content to add to their various networks. You know what I mean? TV, radio, and digital. It's always good for a media company to have more content. So the Jays have money. The Jays organization has been very willing to spend it. You've seen Scott Boras, who used to just make fun of the Blue Jays all the time, say nice things about them. And as much as I hate Scott Boras and think he's a piece of shit, you need that in the ML. Like, Scott Boras needs to basically talk good about you because he represents most of the good players. So you need that. Yeah. And you need other agents to be interested in you. It's like the whole thing with, I guess we'll just get ready, the George Springer rumors that have been constantly there. The Jays are interested in a lot of guys that play or that are represented by George Springer's agent and agency as a whole. So that's why you've seen such an explosion of names. And that's why you see more just groupings. If you notice, when they all come out, generally have the same agent. When you see like 3 names come out all at once, it's because they're all being represented by the same guy. And realistically, the Jays might have only asked on 1 or 2 of them, and then he just groups in the rest of the guys that they might need that he represents.
Yeah, it's there's a lot going on. So many rumors like that. There've always been rumors like that with the Blue Jays. Ever since Atkins and Shapiro have taken over, they've embraced spreading, accepting these rumors. It's like, oh, people want to be here. They want to be here. We are interested in good players. But most of the time they haven't pulled the trigger, and they had the excuse before as we're not ready. We're not ready to win, whatever. Now we know they made the playoffs. There's no excuse anymore. They signed Ryu last year. They paid more than anyone else. That really changed a lot for me. So we all did. We all had concerns like, how aggressive are they going to be as far as free agents? But they signed Ryu. They paid more than anyone else, and he's legit, and we're a playoff team. Now, with the young players we have, it's nowhere to go but up. So it is a very big option.
And it's becoming a time where we can make ourselves a destination. Yes, Canada as a whole, we have the taxes, we have a lot of things major league players don't want to deal with, the international travel, but like looking at our ownership group, looking at what these other teams are saying. You have teams like the Phillies and Yankees who aren't dealing and wheeling this year. We're the team, us and the Mets. Who would have thunk it? The Mets and the Jays are the teams that are going to be spending. We can change the culture and the outlook of our team for free agents going forward.
Steve Cohen being the new owner of the Mets is like the worst thing that could have happened to the Jays, because if the Mets were still owned by, oh God, who was the Wilpons? If they were still owned by the Wilpons, they would spend no money because the Wilpons have no money. So it was actually the worst thing that could happen for Jays fans, because like maybe like the Mets might actually go get George Springer. They might go get Trevor Bauer. They might set the market and take other guys that are good. But like we've been saying, the Jays actually have the money. They have the ability to do it. And I think here's the thing. It's a double-edged sword. It's positive that they're in all these rumors because they're talking to all of these people. And they also keep going to the media and they're putting pressure on themselves by saying, we are trying to go sign Big Fish. You know what I mean? They're putting more pressure on themselves by doing that, which means they're clearly trying to go get big name free agents. The issue is with teams not spending and the Yankees being like, well, maybe we will, maybe we won't. The Phillies are a joke. They said they lost $2 billion. Their owner's a fucking idiot. There's no way they lost $2 billion. But for teams like the Yankees, for bigger franchises that have like cachet, and for a team like the Dodgers that has a ton of money and just won the fucking World Series and is the Dodgers, free agents are kind of waiting on that because they're like, well, if they want me, I might want to go there. And the Jays are appealing, and the Jays ownership clearly wants to spend the money, and the agents are very much relaying this to the players. But the players are kind of looking at it like the border's still closed. We don't know what's going on. Like, it's good and bad that they're in all of these conversations because clearly they're being aggressive. But here's the thing. They need to sign somebody. And even if, your best efforts came up short, that doesn't cut it, though. You know what I mean? Like,
those are real concerns.
Yeah, like you can't sign guys. You have to go get.
They're talking such a big game. Atkins is like, we're going to get multiple big guys. They want to play here, all that. There are real concerns that like are understandable as to why people wouldn't want to play. Like, you don't even know where we're going to play at all. So
yeah, it could be in Buffalo. You could be playing in the AAA field again.
Yeah, could be bouncing around like in all different parks. We still don't know.
Exactly. There's a lot of just unanswered shit. So there's a lot of positive, but like as fans, it's starting to get frustrating because yes, it's nice to hear that they are in on these things, but now I'm getting to the point where it's like, listen, I don't give a shit. Stop telling me you're involved. Stop fucking telling me and just do something. Sign somebody, do a thing. You know what I mean? Like it's now starting to become annoying. You know what I mean?
If other teams were signing people, I'd be annoyed, but it's not like they're controlling the market. Like, again, you're saying players are going to wait. Why would they rush to be the first one, especially if they're not going to set the market? Like, they want to see what their value. They don't know what their value is this year. Could be they don't know how much these teams actually have because Major League Baseball has been very transparent with that. So they're going to wait. I don't know. I think you were saying about the Mets and being concerned about them. At least if the Jays do want Ryu Hyunmin, the fact that the Mets got their catcher, I think they can be the lead on that market now. That's kind of put in motion that catcher's off the board.
I think I think Ryu Hyunmin is it allows them to do the most things. Danny Jansen can be a backup because he's fine defensively, but I love Danny Jansen. You know what I mean? He seems like he's a great dude. I have him in fantasy leagues that are dynasty. He hasn't been able to prove that he can hit the baseball. You know what I mean? That's been an issue. But as a backup catcher, whatever, you can do that. He costs nothing. Ryu Hyunmin is great offensively for a catcher, elite defensively, and it allows you to trade Alejandro Kirk, who's really at the highest height you can possibly get in terms of hype, and you can cash in on that. Because I love him, but we saw very little of him. You know what I mean? Like, this is baseball. He is a prospect. These things are he's a lottery ticket. We don't know what the fuck he is. You know what I mean?
Especially catchers. Catchers take so long to develop, and we're in a win now position. Putting a guy in the outfield, that doesn't take as long to figure out, but catcher could take years and years.
Yeah. And Ryu Hyunmin is already great at what he does. He's one of the best defensive catchers in the game, one of the best offensive catchers in the game. But he runs the bases well for a catcher, which sounds
he's an
weird,
athlete,
but like it's not even just stealing bases. He can take the extra bag. He can score. He's not gonna block. Like there's a lot of plotters on the Jays, guys that just aren't fast, and he at least he's not fast, but he's a smart base runner. You know what I mean? And that's in a long season that scores you runs, which wins you games, just flat out. You know what I mean? And if you can take advantage of the fact that, hey, the Mets might be out now and there's not a lot of teams that want to give him that kind of money, and you're just trying to give someone all the money, that's why I think he kind of sets up so well. You know what I mean? Like, it looks like Springer's out of the – it looks like that's probably not going to happen. I mean, it still could, but it doesn't seem like that's happening. But that would be the move, you know what I mean? And this Lindor trade almost seems like it's going to happen at this point.
If you do that too, you allow yourself to not have to put the catcher at the 9 in your. You can get a Jackie Bradley Jr. and defensively strip up your outfield because we need a center fielder who can play the position. We have a lot of fucking bad defensive players. If you can get a JT, you can have a Jackie and have him in the lineup every day, even if he's not hitting.
Exactly. It changes what you do with your order too. Like that's a very important thing to bring up. Because they do need a center. They need someone who can play center field. Like Randall Grichuk is fine, I guess, but you want to
Randall Grichuk. I was a lot more hopeful last season. At the beginning of the year, it kind of got bad.
He turned back into normal Randall Grichuk by the end of it, and it wasn't even a full 162 game season.
Yeah, he did the whole. Yeah, I thought Bichette would have turned him around, Dante Bichette. I felt like we had him going the right way, and then the second half, it just went back to the old ways.
Teoscar looked like he made real strides, but he's
legit.
He looks like he made real strides, but we'll see. You know what I mean? Like I want to see it for a full season. But yeah, Grichuk went exactly right back to old Randall. You know what I mean? Like it's like, well, again, you start looking at him like, why the fuck did you pay? Why did you give him that money? Why?
The Jays for like that year were just rushing to pay everything. Like they even that offseason with the offseason before with Kendricks, and then we're getting their guys re-signed. It's like you don't need to pay Grichuk 10 a year. Like he's replaceable.
Rush to do it. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, he's seeing the ball better than ever. It was just like, shut the fuck up. Like you didn't need to do it. You really didn't need to. And now he's one of the guys that's on a long-term deal and actually makes real money. And now because it's pandemic baseball and teams don't want to spend the money, his contract's actually a problem. Like that's a thing that's actually happened now. So he has to play because of that contract. It sucks.
The Jays do get obsessed with their guys they get. Like look at Drury, how much of a leash we give these guys who we trade for, and
well, they look good in the uniform, man. That's why.
You guys were
sorry. Yeah. Biggest Brandon Drury supporter,
me,
Anthony Harris. You tried. I kind of bought into Anthony.
You fully bought because you look good in the uniform. You were all about that.
Derek Fisher, Randall Grichuk, Brandon Drury. What do they all have in common? Look great in the uniform, great baseball bodies. Ross Atkins sees this and he's like, I need that on my team. There's no way they're not going to be good, and none of them are good. I mean, Grichuk's obviously better than them, but like. Drury played good defense, but couldn't do anything. He was the worst hitter.
He fouled the ball straight back so many times.
And he looked so good doing it. It looked like he was this close. Turning it around every time.
Half inch away.
Didn't happen.
He was so infuriating because he was so bad. Like, he could never do anything right.
He got beat up by a guy who plays one position, second base. He got beat up by a fucking utility guy who only plays second base and hits sometimes. That's how bad he was at the end of his tenure.
Yeah, pretty sad. I hated Brandon Drury.
Anyways,
well, I guess we're talking infielders, and I did mention it. This Lindor trade is getting weird. I've never seen an article like when they started talking about how Cleveland wants to make this trade with Toronto because they want Lourdes Gurriel. Like that was a weird. Have you ever seen that before?
Not really, but you don't really see owners say we're going to trade this star player for sure. So it is like kind of an unprecedented situation.
Yeah, and like I don't get me wrong, like I like Lourdes a lot. His contract's super valuable because I don't think he gets paid more than $5.5 or $6 million. They got 4 years left of him, plus an RB'er at the end of it. Like there's a lot of control there. He's young, he's athletic. He in spurts he hits the ball like crazy. He does also get hurt a lot. You know, like that's a real thing. Like, he's only played, like, even in the half season, he only played half the season.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? When he first came over, he hurt his hamstring right off the hop. Like, he's always hurt. And here's the thing. I know he's really good offensively, but Francisco Lindor changes the entire team. You know what I mean? And I know you only get 1 year of him, but
he sends a message, and it's something I think like you need to bring in two big bats if you're the Jays, and however you do it, you got to figure it out if it's through trade or free agency. Lindor makes a lot of sense. It seems like this Cleveland, regime, like we're still close with them. If we can make a deal, if they are obsessed with Gurriel on that contract, Cleveland's a cheap team. If they want to contract that to build around, then fuck it, we got to make that deal. We're loaded in the outfield as far as bats like and players equivalent to him. Like we can afford to lose Gurriel.
Well, that's the thing. Like, you just talked about it. It's about sending the message. And if you're trying to send the message to free agents, maybe this jump starts that. Maybe getting busy in the trade market starts making some of the free agents go, you know what? Fuck it. We're not waiting for the other teams to make us an offer. Look at this team. This team's doing the things. They're trying to win. And they're giving us all the money. Because that's really the second thing that the Jays need to do, and apparently they're trying to do. That might also help them on the free agent market by going out there and get, like, especially someone like Lindor, because I know his offense is overrated because he hits for power and he doesn't really have the on base, and sometimes he has a high average. It's just, he's still a good player. Don't get me wrong. It's the fact that he's so good defensively, that he's one of the best defensive shortstops in baseball, and what that does to your pitching staff, specifically Ryu, who gets a lot of ground balls. It's the same thing talking about potentially at that point, like getting an outfielder who just plays center field like Jackie Bradley Jr. Increasing the defense like that is massive. And Bo Bichette isn't a bad shortstop, but if you put him at second base, he might be a great second baseman, right? And that helps if you're trying to put Vladdy at third. If you have the middle of the diamond sewn up with two guys with unbelievable range, well, Vladdy doesn't have to move that much, and Vladdy's got a huge arm. So if you take away a lot of his movement, you might just make him better defensively by putting someone like Lindor. There's just so many different layers that someone with Lindor's talents and the way he can change the infield, right? Like that's, and again, he's one of the game's most recognizable faces. It sends a message. It just does. It's important. And I fucking want him on my team. I'm sorry. I want to see Lindor. I want to watch him. I'm sorry.
Seems like the Jays we're always obsessed with shortstops. The Jays are always looking for the next shortstop.
Oh,
We've been trying for a while.
What? Remember Royce Clayton?
Oh, yeah, I remember Royce Clayton. He's my favorite obscure baseball player that played for the Jays.
Oh, God. Really? I don't know. Reed
Just
Johnson.
for a name, like, when someone says name a random Jay, it's Royce Clayton.
Oh, dude, this is going to show how old I am. I was about to say, like, Reed Johnson, Frank Catalanato. Like, there's a lot of Jays. There is a lot of random Jays.
Fred Lewis.
I was just about to say that, Tony. The most random Blue Jay who actually had, like, what was it, like 50 games where I think he hit like 305 or something stupid.
I don't know what happened. What happened to him?
He got DFA'd and never played again. Actually, I'm going to pull this. Thank you for bringing up that name, because I bring up his Fangraphs page, because Fred Lewis was the most random Blue Jay, and he actually was good that year.
And he was
I feel like, though, I'm going to pull this up, and then I'm going to realize he had like an on base that was terrible. You know what I mean?
I remember Corey Patterson. I remember him.
Corey Patterson. He was part of the Colby Rasmus trade.
The most random jersey I have, the random giveaway day, when I was like 10 years old, maybe younger, Russ Adams.
Oh, wow.
Weren't the Jays hyping him up at the beginning of his career too? Wasn't he?
He was like a high pick, right?
No, they took him instead of taking. They didn't take Troy Tulowitzki. They took Ricky Romero because they had Russ Adams. And I remember Russ Adams throwing the ball into the 15th row every single time he tried to throw to first base.
He only had like 1 year, and then he was gone.
Oh, he couldn't throw to first base. That's kind of a problem when you're a shortstop. Also, I have so Fred Lewis played 110 games with the Jays in 2010. He hit 262, 333, 414. He had a 325 BABIP. Like, he wasn't bad. Oh, he was horrible defensively. He had a minus 13.1 defensive run save. So that was
Colby was the great hope for me.
And then he went to play with the Reds, where he was bad, and then he was out of baseball in 2012. He died with the Mets because, the Mets.
Yeah, that's what they do.
I thought, speaking of Colby, I thought Colby was going to be when we traded for him, the Jays are back. This is the guy we used to build our franchise up.
I was such a huge Colby Rasmus, but actually, I don't know if y'all can see that. I have an autographed Colby Rasmus baseball.
Whoa.
That's like a buddy of mine when they traded for him was at Upper Canada Mall. Colby Rasmus was there signing stuff, and I got him to buy me this because I was such a Colby Rasmus fan. Like you guys know, if you're listening to this, you will learn that I'm a huge baseball nerd. I know a lot about prospects and guys that aren't in the big leagues and might never make the big leagues. And I knew Colby Rasmus as a big-time prospect, and I honestly thought he was going to be a superstar with the Blue Jays, and that just did not work out. But I do have this autographed baseball, which is a random piece of useless memorabilia.
Oh, you're lucky. That's big time.
Oh, yeah, big time. Colby Rasmus autograph.
I'll never forget. Never forget Colby.
No. But back to the current Blue Jays. All they've really done so far is sign Robbie Ray, and now they've been involved with literally everyone and anyone with a pulse. Because we've gone through every position. We're now talking about signing relievers to long-term deals. I'm also furious that they didn't just fucking claim Brad Hand. Like, I know nobody claimed he was making $10 million, but at this point, you would have had Brad Hand. So
he's gonna make close to that anyways. It's not like you're gonna.
And it's probably gonna be a 2-year deal where he gets $10 million over 2 years instead of one. But at the same time, just go fucking sign Brad Hand. They're apparently linked to Liam Hendriks, former Blue Jay Liam Hendriks, who as a reliever has been really good. I'd be cool with that. I'd be very cool with that, to be honest.
Yeah, I don't
could
prioritize
also just
the bullpen as much, but obviously he'd be a star.
Yeah, we can also just bring back Giles cheap because actually no, he's hurt next year.
No, he's done for the year. TJ.
It's a shame.
No, that's why if you got a guy at the very back end, so you can continue using Romano as like the weapon out of the bullpen. Dolis, he actually turned out to be good. Like, you know what I mean? I'd be fine with him in the 8th inning if you did get for example, Liam Hendriks, and Liam Hendriks is your closer, right? Like, I'd be very cool with that bullpen because Baracki's good against lefties. You know what I mean? Kay and Hatch, they're apparently going to get chances as starters, you know what I mean? And at least they'll be at AAA starting so that when someone gets hurt, they'll get called up. The Jays also need, we were talking about this before the podcast. The big thing the Jays need to do is if they're going to sign free agent bats and like with the Lindor thing, they need to go trade for pitch. They need more pitching. They need more starting pitching specifically.
Yeah. Wheeler's the perfect, it makes a lot of sense. Just looking at everything that's coming out and with what the Jays want to do and what the Phillies want to do, that's probably the second best pitcher available this year. Would you say? Like after Bauer, like what's in the free agency market that's better than Wheeler? Like,
well, if you're talking about trade targets, like I might take Sonny Gray.
Okay, I forgot.
And Darvish, I take you.
Well, no, Yu Darvish. Like Yu Darvish is really who the Blue Jays should go for. He's the one, like, because he makes a bunch of money. He's had the resurgence now. He's post Tommy John. Trevor Bauer is actually the one that helped him change his mechanics and turn back into the Yu Darvish we all know and love with just the filthiest breaking stuff on the planet. Yu Darvish is back, and he's healthy, and you've seen it now for 2 years. You saw it for a full season, and then you saw it in the shortened season where he was lights out. That's the dude I want. If you're going to trade for somebody, because he should be cheap because he's making so much money and the Cubs are being little bitches and trying to just shed all the salary. He's a dude you could probably steal from them.
And we could become Asian TV markets will be always Blue Jay games. If we get him and Ryu back to back. And Kim.
Oh, okay. I want to get to him. Is there any other pitching targets you really want to talk about before we get to Kim? Because
Lynn would have been cool, but
yeah.
Lynn was the guy I especially considering he's making $8 million, which is what they're paying Robbie Ray. Like Lance Lynn would have been the man.
Yeah,
like that would have been.
They traded a decent amount.
I was about to say, like they gave up, like the White Sox gave up Dane Dunning. Like he's a high-end pitching prospect for them. You know what I mean? Yeah. So that's a big deal. So I don't know if the Jays were going to part with someone like that, but if you could have, like, just think about that top three. You got Ryu, Darvish, Pearson.
Yeah.
That's filthy.
Bring back Taiwan Walker too at the end.
Well, we were talking about this again before we started recording. They need to then, like, if you go trade for someone like Darvish, and if you could then sign a Taijuan Walker, that'd be so perfect. Honestly, and since the Cubs need a body, try to give them Tanner Roark. I fucking hate Tanner. Get him off the roster.
Maybe pumped to take Tanner Roark.
Well, honestly, and retain some of his money if you have to.
We would let Tanner Roark pitch the fourth inning. That's how we value him, too, as a team.
Yeah, but he's going to cause a problem because he was already pissed about the way he was used. And you guys know I hate Charlie Montoyo and kind of agree with him there. But the fact that, he allowed 1 million home runs, you kind of have to just wear that. Tanner, you keep letting the ball get hit out of the fucking stadium. So shut the fuck up.
And that's always what he's been. He's always given up.
Do you think with pitchers... Do you think with pitchers, too, they're going to be concerned if we're playing in Buffalo? Like, we're going to need to prove we're not playing there for pitchers to want to sign here. That could be an issue, too.
I don't know. That's going to be interesting. I have no idea. Well, I don't think they want to play in the Rogers Center that's known as a home dome.
True. So we're tearing it down.
East. That's also a problem. That's another reason you need to, Taijuan Walker kind of wants to come back here, which is apparently the rumor is he was he liked it here. So if you could sign him and trade for a Darvish, that rotation is legit. You know what I mean? Your top three are really fucking good. And then if your back end is Taijuan Walker and Robbie Ray, and then you have Hatch and then the guys you have at AAA make a lot more sense. Maybe Patrick Murphy's a starter and not a reliever. You know what I mean? But if you have Patrick Murphy, Julian Merriweather, those guys in the bullpen, the pitching depth looks a lot better. They need to go sign a high-end reliever. They need to sign another starter. They need to trade. There's still a lot on the shopping list because they haven't really done anything, but no one's really done anything.
The other starter they wanted was Musgrove from Pittsburgh.
Yeah, but the price on that's pretty wild.
Yeah, because they were asking for
Kirk.
Yeah.
Not for Joe Musgrove, former Blue Jay, by the way, who they traded to the Stros for J Happ. I would point that out. And that's the first time J Happ was in Toronto, not the second time. That's the first time.
There could be a third time too. You never know.
Oh, I hope not. I love J Happ, but that's not the.
These fans fucking hate him. They
hate so much because he went there and he was so bad, and then last year in the pandemic season he was actually.
We thought we got fleeced on that trade. So I remember being pissed, Brandon Drury and McKinney. That's a stupid trade, and then Happ just did nothing to prove that he's valuable.
Are awful.
Yeah.
But we did the trade a week before the deadline. We didn't wait for other offers.
Everyone thought they were getting Clint Frazier too.
Oh, yeah. I think I talked myself into that.
Yeah, I did. Oh,
I still believe in Clint Frazier.
He's not even that great, so
I think he's decent.
He's okay.
He'll never get a shot in New York. They could have traded him for a lot a while ago, but
yeah,
held on to
now he's not. This is hilarious. Honestly, yeah. But yeah, there's a lot they need to do. There's a lot on the shopping list. There's a lot we all want to see them do. It's just, fuck, this sucks. Waiting. You know what I mean?
It's worse.
This every year. Where baseball ends, we're oh, here we go, off season. It always takes longer than we want.
Last year was a little quicker. The Harper year was awful. That was just death by 1,000 cuts waiting for the Jays not to sign him.
Oh, Harper and Machado was such pain.
Yeah, the collusion going on there was ridiculous.
It was, oh God, that was infuriating. That honestly.
No, we don't want to pay a 26-year-old a 12-year contract. Are you kidding me? No way. They're not that good.
So fucking stupid.
And the contracts look pretty good, honestly. The way they play.
Great rate.
Machado was an MVP candidate last year.
Once he settled in and everything really started clicking there, they went nuts. Yeah. Actually, I have the Home Run Hermanos t-shirt. I'm definitely gonna rock that during one of these. I have so many of those fucking RotoWear t-shirts. Yeah, there's going to be a hilarious amount of them. Oh, fuck. I was wearing it today. I should have left it on for this. Hold on. The Advanced Stats t-shirt. RotoWear doesn't even sponsor this. I don't even know why I'm doing this.
Well, you're just advertising how much you know about.
No free ads.
Wow.
You see, if you were that, I'm that guy knows baseball.
Clear,
yeah, right? Exactly. Oh, man.
Anthony's just making a fashion statement.
Too. So, yeah. You know what?
My favorite team.
I'm gonna rock various hilarious fucking baseball related shirts during this.
Yeah, I know who Roberto Alomar is. See, clearly.
I had well, it doesn't fit me anymore because,
You have Alomar too.
I had the Alomar, the exact same one that you're wearing.
Yeah, he would have been the top one. If not him, it would have been Olerud or Molitor, but whatever.
I probably would have got a Holiday.
Well, I'm just thinking about these ones, this style.
Oh, they've made the Holiday and the new ones. I hate the jerseys they used to wear. Oh God, those old Blue Jays jerseys, the black one. What were they doing?
I couldn't even.
They got to bring back the fucking Muscle J throwback. That was the sickest logo they ever had.
The T-birds.
Yes.
With the fucking very angry, he's got a big muscle. That's the logo. That should be the logo.
They should wear all of those. Everything except for the black jerseys were good. Were nice. Yeah. I thought. Yeah. Even the red and blue that they wore in the mid-90s with Clemens, like
the gray ones that said Toronto that didn't have like the stupid blue, there was a lot of bad Blue Jays jerseys in our day.
Yeah.
I don't know, boys. Anything else you really want to get? Oh, Ha-Sung Kim. That's right. Yeah. We want to talk about him.
Yeah.
I'm getting, unfortunately, to the point where I'm just like convinced that that's going to happen now. Like after the Ryu dinner, even though Ryu didn't like that Kim requested it because he wanted to talk to Ryu, even though Ryu's never technically been in Toronto because he was in Buffalo. Ryu's such a cultural icon in Korea and such a big, a massive figure in Korean baseball. It's unfair, but I've just kind of convinced myself that he's going to be a Blue Jay.
Like what Kim said afterwards, he's like, it would be really cool to play with him. He said something.
Right? Like it's just, that's the thing. I've started talking myself into this, and then you start reading his profile, and he's he seems to be a guy that's going to stick at shortstop and should be very good defensively. He's a good base stealer. He's a bat to ball guy. Hits for a high average. Knows how to take a walk. Hit 30 home runs last year. Like. He does everything. Yes, it's Korea. It's different. It's like AA or AAA.
Eric Thames was like the best hitter in the history of that fucking league.
But Eric Thames was pretty good, actually, when he came back against right-handed pitching.
Couple of good Aprils, yeah.
Would you tell me you wouldn't want a 24-year-old who does everything that plays shortstop and can play all over the diamond?
I want a guy who can field the baseball. So if that's something he can do, I would be fine with that.
Well, that's the thing. That's a guy. And here's the thing. He might just play second base because you might not move Bo off shortstop for him. Right? And then Kevin Biggio maybe plays in the outfield. Right? Like maybe you start moving things around.
You also have Austin Martin and Groshans. Groshans, is he coming up next year in September?
I don't know what they're going to do with him. I feel like he's also a dude who's going to get traded, to be fully honest with you. I feel like he's hyped up to a point where he's gone. Especially if Vladdy can play third base, he's pretty much gone. Especially if they get Kim, because he's a shortstop that's probably going to play third base because he's a huge dude. I think he's 6'3" right now, and he's going to fill out.
Looks good in the uniform.
Oh, yeah, Tony's just out here talking about these guys' bodies, and it's making me uncomfortable. But
you look good in the uniform. You look good on the field.
Well, I guess you're young, too. You're younger than me. I'm the old man of this podcast. Fuck, this is weird. Austin Martin. Yeah, he might play center field eventually for them. That might be the eventual play there, but that ain't going to be next year.
I always thought Biggio was going to be the odd man out, but the more I see him play, the more that they seem to trust him in getting on base. He's very valuable top of the lineup right now.
You know what I mean? He's not spectacular, but he's a dude who is a good everyday player who does something useful every day, can play a bunch of positions. I trust him in the outfield more than I trust Teoscar.
Well, of course.
Teoscar's a DH, and it's not that he doesn't have he's great athletically, but he's just he's not really he makes some of the dumbest mistakes. But I don't know, Kim, because he plays a bunch of positions, because he's young, he really fits with this core. I could see him fitting. He fits with the timeline too. He fits when you have Austin Martin, who might play center field. And again, I've just talked myself into the fact that this is happening, even though there is literally no proof to that at all.
We should finish this with a minimum. What do the Jays minimum for your expectations have to do? We'll go through everyone. What do they have to do to keep you satisfied?
To keep me satisfied, you need to trade. Here's the thing. It's going to be a long and pretty unrealistic list. I need you to trade for or sign a closer, a Liam Hendricks level, an elite. Brad Hand is he's not elite anymore because he lost a tick on his fastball, but he's still incredibly useful. I think his whip was 0.8. You know what I mean? I'd still take that, and he's a lefty. That's useful. But you need to sign or trade for a guy like that. That has to happen. You need to sign one more pitcher. You need to trade for a pitcher. If you're not going to trade for Lindor, you have to sign 2 impact bats. It's a big list, but here's the thing. They've come out and basically said the same fucking thing. So now they got to do it. That's
Did
what I
they
think.
say like 3 big names?
They said they were going to add multiple big names this offseason to expect multiple via trade and free agency. And now they got to fucking do it because now I'm expecting it. What do you guys think?
Yeah, the Lindor thing, it's like, if it doesn't happen, like, there had to have been some kind of...
I've mentally put him on the team already.
Kim, Darvish, I've talked myself into these things happening.
Yeah.
Honestly, I'm fully expecting these 3 things to happen.
I'll settle for Ryu Hyunmin.
Yeah, I'm more and more I'm thinking about it. I would love JT Ryu Hyunmin.
He fits the best of all these free. He fits the best. They should do it.
And the idea of like a third, like the concern, like 30-year-old cats are going to kind of decline or whatever. His athletic ability is not something you see in a lot of catchers, and that makes you feel a lot better about him aging.
You know what it reminds me of? He reminds me of Russell Martin. He's just bigger.
Yeah,
like an athletic catcher that could age well. You know what I mean? A guy that could still be like, he's always going to be useful defensively, even if the bat starts to decline. He's going to be a useful player, and what he does with the pitching staff is almost invaluable.
He throws everyone out. No one can steal. Throws out every single person. Like,
and
we have been missing that for a while.
With that,
yeah. Like, I would love. He's like the guy I think is most realistic, and I like George Springer. I mean, he's good and whatever, but like there are a lot of outfielders we can plug in.
Yeah,
a catcher like Real Muto doesn't hit free agency.
I wouldn't even mind Brantley in left field if you traded Lindor or
I
traded
love Brantley.
for Lindor. I love that because you need the left-handed bat, and you could DH him once in a while, but he could play left field.
How good is he in the out? I'm a little like, is his outfield good? Like, I don't know if
he's always been he was an elite defender who was above average, and then last year Dusty Baker basically split him half in left field and half in at DH.
Okay.
But he doesn't make any errors. He catches every ball, and he's at least average still.
He's already our best outfielder then.
No, but that's the thing. Like he still grades his average. He's got a very accurate arm. He's never had like in his younger days he had a strong arm, but now he's just very accurate. He always hits the cutoff man. He doesn't make mistakes, and like Theo said, that basically makes him our best defensive outfielder.
Dude, he's such a pro, man. That guy never makes mistakes.
And again, a left-handed
bat. Does he look good in uniform?
That doesn't strike out. He's a left-handed bat that doesn't strike out for a high average.
Perfect. Man. There's not a lot of hitters like that anymore.
Anthony, rank players based on how they look in the uniform if they should sign Jays.
I mean, everyone I mentioned. JT Realmuto, great in the uniform. Michael Brantley, great in the uniform. Well, even at our team, so many guys look good in the uniform on the Jays. Who doesn't really? Vlad, I guess, isn't.
Look great in the uniform.
Vlad will look great in the uniform by season starts. So
also, do any of you trust Rowdy Tellez, or do you hope that he gets traded for pitching like immediately because there's no way he's keeping up that like 35 fucking at bat sample size?
I don't trust him.
Me neither.
And the defense isn't like.
And if they're moving him off, if they're moving Vlad from first, you know, they're going to need more.
Like they're giving him first base is what's scary. Yeah. Like I'd actually rather see maybe Biggio or Teoscar play first base.
We're just putting Biggio everywhere, right? He's just going to go everywhere but second.
Every single position.
He played third base in a fucking playoff game.
Yeah.
You remember that, Charlie?
Yeah, he can't throw, man. That arm isn't good.
I'd like to see Biggio at first base because he's one of those guys who's really good with like footwork and like the little things. And I think at first base, he could take advantage of that a lot.
And it was always weird with Vlad. Like his biggest strength was his arm. And they're like, you know, we're going to take that away from you and you're going to play first because it seems easier for a guy your size. And
incredibly hard.
Fucking failed. I've never seen a worse first base in my life. It was awful this season.
He was not good. And Biggio, I think, would make a good first baseman. I think the fact that he's such a cerebral player, I think he'd be good with those little plays around the bags. I think he'd learn how to get his feet in the right place really fast. I think he'd be good at it. You know what I mean? He's left-handed. That's something you want because it keeps him in fair. He's got all the little things you want from a first baseman. He's not 6'5", but what is he, 6'2"? Like he's not tiny. He's still a big target at first base. Like he fits there. You know what I mean? And if you get Lindor, we were talking about. If you just make the defense better because you're moving these guys around into positions where they're better suited for, that also helps the pitching staff. It's a holistic change to the team. And here's the thing: they made the playoffs in a shortened season with some of the worst defense I think any of us have ever seen.
It was the most critical I've ever heard Buck Martinez on every day. It was like, this team can't feel the fucking baseball.
Well, they weren't difficult plays. They were fucking up basic plays.
It was Teoscar just forgetting he was on the field. Vladdy diving for every ball. Vladdy never saw a ball he didn't want to catch at first base.
So many times diving and putting himself out of position so he couldn't be at first base. He'd dive, miss it by a mile, and Biggio would just be standing there with the ball in his hand. Like, what the fuck? You're supposed to be at first base. That was infuriating.
Even Bo had his moments.
So
Even Bo towards the end, he had some bad games at short.
Bo coming back early from the injury, I think that was where a lot, because before that he didn't make a lot of errors, and I think a lot of people are remembering those 2 errors in that play. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Because he's not a terrible shortstop. I think a lot of people paint him because of that specific, the way the season ended. I think they paint him differently. He's not terrible. He's not great at it, but he's about an average shortstop. He doesn't make that many errors, except he did in the most crucial moment, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know, but I think Kim would be great. Real Muto is really the one that, that's the name. If we're gonna attach a name to this, Darvish, Real Muto, these are real guys that I think they should be out here going for.
And I'd even be fine with Wheeler because it seems like
if you could
that's the team target.
Work with the way Philly is, and they want to do it, they don't want to do it, all that bullshit. If you could do it, yes, Wheeler is I'm very much in favor of that because that's another guy that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. All right.
Boys, got anything to add?
I think that's it. We'll probably do more when this shit happens. It's kind of tough. This is kind of random shit. We talked about some Royce Clayton, some Russ Adams, some current shit.
Fred Lewis.
I'm so glad you brought that name up because I was about to say it, and the fact that you beat me to it, Anthony, actually just made me very happy that someone else remembered Fred Lewis. Because I'm going to throw out Frank Catalanato and Shannon Stewart. There's a lot of Billy Cott.
Frank Catalanato had the best walk-up song in Blue Jays history. The Down with the Sickness was that guy's hitting a home run every time.
That was pretty awesome.
Talk about looking good in the uniform. Fred Lewis fit the bill.
Tony, you're going to make this really creepy, aren't you?
I mean, don't you want
pretty soon he's talking about fucking great baseball pants make guys' asses look.
We're going to do a recap of the ESPN.
The Blue Jays uniform is very conducive to that too. It's a good the pants.
Look at Tony. He's going to be fucking Call Her Daddy over here.
Someone's got to do it for baseball. It's a market for that.
I love how he's just taking all of this in stride and accepting it. This is great.
No, he's very serious about it. Very serious.
It's a real analysis for baseball players. It is.
All right, boys. I guess
their girlfriend they have a good girlfriend. It's baseball analysis.
All right, that wraps up the first. I guess Toronto on Tilt's baseball podcast. We'll name this shit later. We'll come up with an actual name for it. We will pop in, like Theo was saying, though. When important stuff, we'll pop in during the season. We'll be here probably weekly on Sundays or at some point during the weekend, kind of wrapping up the Jays news of the week, telling you our reactions from potentially games and whatnot. That's kind of when you're going to be expecting a more consistent podcast. Until that happens, we will drop in when big news happens because we'll be freaking out about it like you are because we all love baseball and we all love the Blue Jays. So this is going to be a thing.
It's going to turn into the Charlie Montoya therapy hour. That'll be when we do podcasts probably.
Just that is a great warning. That is a great disclaimer. We all have problems with Chucky. Y'all will learn about it. And exactly, this is going to be our Charlie Montoya support group until he eventually gets canned. But
won't be for 3 years.
Yeah, it's probably going to be for way too long. It's going to be frustrating.
With the ring.
Yeah, it ain't going to be with a ring. It's going to I don't even want to get down the thing of him probably wasting the best years of these guys while they're cheap and controllable, and then them being old and expensive and potentially leaving while Chucky's finally gone because he's ruined everything. But anyways, before we go into the doom spiral, let's keep this positive because the Jays are trying to sign some people.
Everyone.
Well, they're attached on everyone. But this has been the Toronto on Tilts baseball podcast. Like we said, we will name this shit later. I'm Steve Artabello. I'm here with Anthony Harris and Theo Giordano. You can find us, our website, torontoontilt.com. You can find us on Twitter at Toronto on Tilt. The video will be posted at YouTube, Toronto on Tilt. And then the audio from this podcast will be available wherever you get podcasts: Spotify, Google Play, Apple, Breaker, Anchor, Bleaker, all of the things. Like, comment, subscribe, share with your friends. Let them know that some baseball content is coming from the Toronto on Tilt boys. And until the Jays do something, we'll be here waiting for them to do something just like you.
Peace.
See ya.